Hey everyone, Brandon here with GallowayPrecision. Today we're going to go over the installation of our newest 3D printed trigger. This one is for the SDVE series of pistols. This is what we will be calling the Boudica trigger. I know we come up with some odd names from time to time, but Boudica was a Celtic queen during 60 to 61 AD, somewhere in there. Longer before that, obviously, but the Romans had failed to follow her husband's wishes, ended up capturing her and raping her daughters and torturing them. So in response to that, she gathered up her people and some other people and went and razed what is now modern London, Colchester, and I forget the name of the other town, to the ground. Killed 70 to 80,000 Romans during this time. So Boudica was a woman not to be messed with, and she was quite truly a warrior woman through and through. And so we thought it was a very fitting name for the trigger for the SDVE. This is a self-defense pistol. It's already pretty decent from the factory. This one has our spring kit in it already. And now we're going to go over putting the flat face trigger in. The trigger's got a little, you notice this bump here. So we've got a little pre-travel stop in there, and we've made the back of the trigger to where as soon as it breaks, it basically stops. All right, so we're removing some of the pre and post travel, giving a shorter pull, a much better pull with flat face, and we're eliminating the goofy hinge trigger for a standard safety blade, which works much better in this platform. But yes, so tools you're going to need. You need your bench block. You need a pair of small hemos, tweezers, or needle nose pliers, your 3/32 punch, and your brass and polymer hammer. And that's all we're going to need. So let's go ahead and lock and clear. We are visually and physically empty, so let's go ahead and strip the slide from the frame. We're going to set it off to the side. We're not going to need it. So we're going to take our bench block. I'm going to flip it to the flat side. Line up our trigger pivot. We're going to take our 3/32. Knock that pin out. Now, this pin has a couple of spots on it that are grooved. So when you go to knock this out, if it catches the spring just right, you can take your needle nose or whatever you're going to be using, Hemo's needle nose, and just pop it. The other thing you can do is, it's not going to destroy the spring. Just give it one good whack to work past the spring and it'll pop on out. Alright, so let's pull that out. And this is what I'm talking about. That's where the spring connects, right there. When we put everything back together, and this little cut is what the slide stop goes into, which will all come into play here in a minute. When we put everything back together, you'll want to hear the click and let you know everything's back in place. So let's go ahead and pull out our locking block, our slide lock. We're going to pull the trigger and trigger bar up and out. Great thing about the design of the SDVE is that you can remove the trigger, change the trigger without having to remove the fire control unit. So I'm going to take our 3/32, push out the pin that holds the trigger bar to the trigger. Alright, take your stock trigger, you're going to set it back in the bag that your new Boudica trigger came in, making sure to keep that. Always keep our stock parts. Why? Warranty work. You got to send the pistol in for warranty work. They're going to remove all your aftermarket parts, return it to stock, and not send you your aftermarket parts back. So let's get the trigger bar installed in the Boudica. We're going to get it lined up. Give it a nice tap to get the trigger bar pin in. Push it all the way to the side. It should be equidistant. There we go. On both sides. You're going to line trigger bar up with the sear and drop it in. Alright, next comes the tricky part. Alright, so this almost takes about 2 hands. The way I like to do this is I like to take the locking block, get it started. I like to take the pivot pin and just get it, it's hard to see, but get it started enough where it's just sitting inside the locking block. Okay, you don't want it going through yet. Reason being, because when you go to put your slide lock back in, this needs to be sitting just underneath the back of the locking block right here. If it sits in front of it, there's a lip, and it'll catch, and the spring's not going to work correctly. So I always put that in first, so it's easier to hold everything in place. Get my slide lock, start putting it in, get it lined up, get the pin through it. Like I said, this is the trickiest part because you're fighting the spring tension of the slide lock spring, which doesn't seem like much until you're trying to push it up and maneuver around so you can get the pin lined up. Alright, so we got it through, so go ahead, and if it goes through further than you want, push it on back. Now, this is our spring kit spring, but the way that, whether it's your stock or our spring kit, Apex, whoever's springs you got in there, the S on the back, the S shape on the back, always curves down. So what I like to do is take my little hemos here, clamp right there. I will place the spring in, get it lined up with the pin, push the pin all the way through. Alright, we're going to hear it click like that, click right in place. Alright, now I'm going to take my hemos and grab the top part of the rear of the spring. I use said hemos, if they'll cooperate with me, to put that back part of the spring right here into the trigger bar. Alright. And make sure that my spring's on the side it needs to be. You may have to take your 3/32 and just push the spring to the left some. And you'll see the top hook of the spring and it's locked in where it should be. Now, I like to depress the trigger safety, move the trigger, and all we're doing here is making sure everything's resprung correctly up here, that the trigger bar is sitting in the correct spot on this ear so it actually actuates it, and we're ready to reassemble and function test. So let's go ahead and put our slide back on. Rack the slide. First thing you're going to do without pressing the trigger safety, pull the trigger, nothing should happen. Depress the trigger safety, pull the trigger, striker should fall, hold the trigger to the rear, rack, reset, pull, and you're good to go. So already a much better feeling trigger in a decent self-defense pistol. This is a great carry and car gun, especially for the price. You know, you can pick these up around $300, $350 usually. Put another $50 to $100 worth of parts in it. Keep it in the car. It gets stolen, you're not freaking out. You know, I mean, obviously you're going to freak out. You're going to get stolen, but losing an under $500 gun as opposed to a $1,200 or $1,300 gun is always a lot less hurtful in the end. But really enjoy this trigger. Really fun to shoot with the flat face now. So there's your reset. Notice the trigger, less than a 1/16 inch of travel from reset to stop. So the pre-travel's pulled out. The pre-travel stop built-in's pulled out quite a lot of pre-travel. And then as soon as it breaks, you can see the top part of the trigger where we put the over travel stop in. Hits the frame, stops movement. So you're ready to go back to work. So shortens the overall pull by probably about 15-20%. I know a lot of people would like more, but the reality of it is we're working within the constraints and tolerances of these pistols. But just the flat face alone forcing you to properly place your, don't short stroke it like I just did, actually let the trigger out. It makes a huge difference. This is a lot more comfortable too. And now, of course, you know, I am biased towards flat face triggers, but honestly, this trigger now makes me want to get another SDVE for a car gun. So definitely worth the upgrade, and like I said, for an under $400 gun that you can put under $50-$60 worth of parts in and make it run like it should, you can't go wrong. So that's gonna wrap it up, guys. If you got any questions, feel free to email me at tech, that's Tango Echo Charlie Hotel, at GallowayPrecision.com. Be sure to follow us on social media here on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe below. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Vimeo, and now, as of yesterday, Gunstreamer.com. Added a page there. So if, you know, the great happening of YouTube ends up happening at some point, got Vimeo and Gunstreamer to go to for our install videos and other things. And that's going to be it. So, as always, be safe, be accurate, and God bless.